Hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages as they arrive. In the next half hour, we'll see what's making the headlines with the consultant editor of the Daily Mail, Andrew Pearce, and the associate editor of the Daily Mirror, Kevin Maguire. Lovely to see you guys, and we'll get your choices in a moment. But first, let's see what's on the front of some of those papers. The FT leads with the recommendation from the UK's Advisory Committee on Vaccines that people under 30 should be offered alternatives to the Oxford-AstraZeneca jab after rare instances of people in that age group suffering blood clots having received it. It's also the top story for The Eye. Their headline, AstraZeneca jab ruled out for the under 30s. The Guardian points out that the news couldn't dent public confidence in the vaccine. On that score, The Telegraph speaks to the family of a 59-year-old solicitor who died of a blood clot on the brain, having been given the AstraZeneca jab. They're urging people to keep taking it in order to save lives. Keep calm and carry on jabbing is the headline in the Mail, which says scientists and politicians are all calling on people not to reject the vaccine. The Sun highlights the very low chances of developing a blood clot after receiving the jab. And away from the vaccine, the Metro reports on the additional rail services being laid on as we emerge from lockdown. Well, let's talk through those front pages with Andrew Pearce and Kevin Maguire. Lovely to see you both. The vaccine really dominating most of the front pages still. The Daily Mail, Andrew, your paper, starting with keep calm and carry on jabbing. That is the message from the scientists, it's the message from the government. But are the population listening?
I think they are, Jane, because I think they realise, as you pointed out in the introduction, 79 blood clots associated with the AstraZeneca jab. 20 million people have had that jab. That is a very, very, very small number. You're as more likely to be, and only, I think 19 of them were fatal. You're far more likely to be killed in a road accident. It's still infinitesimal, really, and we've got to stay confident, stay true to the vaccine programme. They've taken the precaution of saying that people under 30 who are more at risk from these clots should be given alternative vaccines. But fortunately, we've got the Moderna one coming on stream. There's more vaccines being developed because we are so well advanced with our vaccine programme. And I think we've, as Corporal Jones would have said in Dad's Army, don't panic. There's no need to panic. And I think there's evidence that the number of vaccinations done today was up sharply again. I think the British public are confident and reassured. And it's interesting, isn't it, that the European Medicines Regulator didn't even recommend people under 30 shouldn't be using the AstraZeneca vaccine. They just said we should make the point that there can be rare conditions of blood clots. There's some suggestion, isn't there, too, Jane, that it is more likely to affect women under the age of 30, and that could possibly be linked to them potentially being on the pill.
Well, yes, because there's a risk to that in itself, isn't there? Which a lot of women on a daily basis will just take that risk and continue to take the contraceptive. Kevin, the Sun also going with this line, and they've got a really clear graphic on their front with a picture of a syringe and 0.00095% chance of a killer clot, and that's certainly something we've been trying to reflect on Sky News today. Ed Conway's been trying to explain the difference between the risks of the vaccine and the risks of not taking the vaccine. Do you think the media is doing a good job of explaining this story without scaremongering?
I think so, actually, Jane. Some newspapers never get it right. All newspapers rarely get it right. But I agree with the Daily Mail for keep calm and carry on jabbing, and I like that Sun front page as well, because I mean those odds, that 0.00095%, that's probably the chances of Andrew Pearce buying a round when pubs reopen in England. It's just really not going to happen. It's just it's so unlikely. But I can see why they came clean. I thought that was really good. The regulator is working, and that they didn't try to hide the fact there is this very rare, very exceptional side effect. They thought, right, let's get it out into the open. That ends or will curb some speculation by just being upfront about it and then changing what's going to happen with the with the under 30s and offer them something else, because they might be a group that is hesitant. Younger people tend to feel they're immortal, they're going to live forever, nothing will happen to them. We've got so far. Why do we need the vaccine? Well, there is still a risk to them, but of course, you want everybody vaccinated so you don't pass it on to other people. It's not just about yourself. So I think there has been a fair degree of responsibility, and I can often be a great critic of the media and newspapers, and some newspapers in particular. But from what we've seen tonight, I think this is the position. It's surprised some people, shocked some people. Some people will be concerned, others will be worried. But it's putting it in context, and you're quite right. The great killer is the virus, which on the official toll has killed nearly 127,000 people. The killer ain't the vaccine. That is your savior. But every medicine has some side effects. You buy some aspirin or paracetamol, and God, you pull out a bit of paper, and it goes on and on and on, telling you how it might damage you, but people take it, and its overall impact is really good.
And I suppose, Andrew, the other benefit is that most under 30s will not have had the vaccine. It will only have been those who are in any of those particular high-risk groups. So also the regulations are working in the sense that they found that this is an issue before this key group actually have had major access to it.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably some weeks away still. And what's really reassuring is the government are arguing that we're still on target to have all adults given at least one vaccine or even two vaccines by the end of July. And very few people under the age of 30 will have been exposed even to this tiny risk of a potential blood clot. And fantastic news that the Moderna vaccine has been rolled out today, starting in Wales. There's another one being developed in Scotland, and they will be immune from the clutches of the European Union, which is still huffing and puffing about will they or won't they impound AstraZeneca vaccines in Europe, destined for Britain. But I suspect, and it was reassuring that the European Medicines Regulator, as I said, hasn't suggested even people under 30 shouldn't be having the AstraZeneca vaccine. It's still a great triumph of British science and great cooperation with Europe too, and I still think we are going great guns, gangbusters on the vaccine rollout programme, and it's the key to everything, isn't it? We're starting to sense normality returning, Jane, starting to sense the economy might start picking up again. Hey, you never know, we might be able to go on holiday.
Jane,
let's just bring in the front of the Guardian as you talk, Kevin, because they're also going with this story about jab confidence. You wanted to get in there.
Yeah, no, I think jab confidence is an issue, and I think everybody involved, the NHS, scientists, even some politicians, have to keep saying, look, it's safe for all intents and purposes. It is safe to have the AstraZeneca vaccine. What is not safe is to be unjabbed, to not get immunised. I think that has to be pressed home time after time after time. But I just wanted to point out to Andrew, the Moderna vaccine that was used in Wales today was imported from Spain. Yeah. And every time, and I know he just loves to promote Brexit and bash everything to do with the European Union. Every time concerns were raised in the European Union about the AstraZeneca vaccine, he was claiming it was all about Brexit. Well, I think now concerns have been raised in the UK over blood clots. I'm not sure every government in the European Union acted responsibly when they suspended use, but you could see some of those concerns were far more legitimate than Andrew gave them credit for at the time.
Andrew, are you concerned about the international reputation of the AstraZeneca vaccine? Because, of course, the key to all, the whole world getting back to normal is as many people across the world having it. And if this is the one that was destined for all of those developing countries being made at cost, if those developing countries lose confidence in it, that's a big problem for all of us, isn't it?
It is, and remember, and AstraZeneca, in one of the greatest acts of philanthropy known in modern times, really, selling this drug at cost price, it's going to be hugely important in the developing world, in Africa, call it the third world, whatever you will. But I think we've just got to stay confident about the fact the European Medicines Regulator has said it's very rare. The blood clots are very rare. Same with the British medical regulator. But as for European Union leaders, Kevin knows full well that President Macron behaved like a complete idiot over the AstraZeneca vaccine, saying that people over a certain age shouldn't use it. And when he then had to concede, he didn't have a grain of scientific evidence for it. Likewise, Angela Merkel. They have caused big problems with their utterances. Here in this country, we've allowed the scientists to proclaim and pronounce on the efficacy of this vaccine again and again, and they've done it today, and the politicians follow suit. In France and Germany, unfortunately, it was the politicians mouthing off when they had no evidence to support their assertions.
Jayne, I did think today it was better that experts gave their view and put it out in a very objective way than, say, having, for instance, the Prime Minister Boris Johnson coming back from Cornwall to lead it, because should we say, he's often a stranger to the truth. So his word would not have been taken, I think, the way somebody like Jonathan Van Tam, the Deputy Chief Medical Officer in England, who I think is the most effective communicator of any of those experts who stand there.
But having said that, the front of the Telegraph tomorrow it's leading on the family of a clot victim, say, keep taking the AstraZeneca vaccine. So again, not an expert, but somebody who has seen at the sharp end what the negative impacts of this potentially can be, but also see the bigger picture. Yeah,
I think that's an important piece, actually, because it's Solicitor Neil Astles. He worked for Warrington Borough Council, and it's his sister, Dr. Alison Astles, who is a pharmacologist at Huddersfield University, who says, look, her brother was extraordinarily unlucky, and she wants people to keep getting vaccinated because threat from the virus. It is not the vaccine. And given she must still be grieving the loss of her brother, it must have taken a fair bit of courage for her to speak out like this. But it's important she has. He is the only victim we know who's been named of those 19 who died.
Yeah, desperately sad and difficult time for her to talk to the media as well. Guys, thank you very much. We've got lots more to come after the break. We'll be discussing about whether the rail services could get back on track after lockdown. Stay tuned.
We are seeing actually quite a small eruption. This is one of the smallest yet, but how big it will be in the end is anyone's guess, because this is what's called, it's very coming from deep. This magma is what's called very primitive, coming right from the mantle of the earth. And there are cases when eruption like this can go on for long, but this is placed nearer to the population centers of Iceland. It is 30 kilometers from Reykjavik. It's close to a town, or 10 kilometers from a town on the south coast. So volcanic activity in this area is much closer to most of us than most of the volcanic activity in Iceland. There's a major operation ongoing trying to secure the security of people that go into the area. There are dozens of rescue group people present, and it's organized and by the local police and civil protection, and and it's all meant to try to secure that nobody is harmed. But there is an enormous interest in this. This is spectacularly beautiful, and if people do things in the right way, there isn't much danger. The problem is if you go too close, if you go under a wall of lava, it may collapse. There can be gas in pockets. The indications are that this will go on probably in a similar manner. We have no idea for how long. It can go on for weeks, months. And if we look at the geological past, then we have events in Iceland that have probably gone on for decades. We are not really expecting that, but nature, we don't know what nature is actually going to do. But this has quite some similarities to the volcanic activity that is very common on Hawaii.
Welcome back. You're watching the press preview. With me now, Andrew Pearce and Kevin Maguire, taking us through their choices of the front and inside pages. The Metro's front page, this is about coronavirus, but it's about services getting back to normal. Andrew, Britain's apparently going to get back on tracks at last. All the rail services are going to be back up and running.
Yeah, so they're going to be laying on a lot more trains, a lot more carriages, and they're also going to clean them, which will make a refreshing change, because quite often, particularly the train down to Bright, which I use a lot, the trains are absolutely rancid and filthy. So they're going to clean them, try and make them more COVID friendly, because there is evidence now that more people are starting to go back to work in offices, evidence of that even in the City of London, which has been deserted for months and months. It's absolutely deserted. My dentist is over that part of London. Nobody around at all, but it's picking up a bit now. So it's a sign that trains are coming back. And some things that don't change, Jane, of course, the fares on the trains have gone rocketing up way above the rate of inflation. Nothing new there.
Oh, I thought you'd said affairs. I was thinking about brief encounter. Kevin, of course, though, a lot of people will have changed how they work, won't they? There'll be a lot of people who won't be getting back on the trains.
No, that's right. I think they're unlikely ever to be as crowded as they were because of that. There'll be some people who, say, had office jobs will do 2, 3, 4 days, 5 days. But the rail services were absolutely slashed during lockdowns, when the Metro says 18,000 back next week. But it is true, Jane, that they are safer. And TfL, who operates trains and tubes and buses in London, Imperial College does tests, and they just find no trace of COVID, which I think is a fantastic testimony to the cleaning abilities of TfL staff. And you hope when the virus is gone or just about gone, that the operators continue to put so much effort into cleaning public transport, because it'll just be better.
Well, you do
better.
think that a lot of people in lots of areas of life are going to be cleaning things really differently now for all of us. Final story that you picked for this half hour, and this is an inside pages of the Metro. This is Lance Martin, who lives right on the edge of a cliff in Norfolk. He's not going anywhere, though, is he, Andrew?
Well, you wouldn't think so, would you? But what might be going somewhere is his house, because it's teetering on the edge. So
I shouldn't laugh about it. I mean, he's been there for not that long, 2007, Kevin. I mean, he knew the risks when he moved in there, didn't he? But he's going to stick it out for as long as he can.
I know, but he lost 20 feet over Easter. He lost 100 feet when the Beast from the East was creating storms in 2018. So he paid nearly £100,000 for that place. He's got an option to actually drag it over the road onto a vacant plot, which he might have to do. But he normally sleeps soundly, but a bit less soundly now when you are literally living on a cliff edge. I hope he's okay. And when you say he's not going anywhere, I hope he doesn't go anywhere. I hope that house doesn't go up.
He should get the hell out of there.
Well, it's quite a view, isn't it? Well, listen, guys, thank you both very much for taking us through your choices.
Great to see you.
We'll speak to you again at 11:30 and find out some of your other choices there. Thanks a lot.